Let's start this then, shall we? Hello, everybody, and how you doing? Hope you're all good and well. Welcome to the To Be Decided podcast with me, Mr. Steve, and Mrs. Bingley. How you doing, Kate?
Hello, I am warm.
Yes, it's just humid, isn't it?
Yes,
Pretty
very
much.
much so. But I'll tell you what, at the weekend, me and Mr. Bingley, I say me and Mr. Bingley took it upon himself to go out and buy a like £250 fan from Curry's.
Oh, yeah?
For us to stick specifically at the end of the bed. It's one of these ones that's like on a podium and you can either have it like horizontal or vertical. And then each side of it's got like an individual fan that you can aim. Oh my God, it's been a lifesaver. I can tell you, I had such a good night's sleep. So we now have even more fans. You know.
Sorry, Kate. Sorry, 1 second. I do apologise. Hopefully, if anyone is in chat, they won't be able to correct us on it. Yeah, so if you can hear us in chat, is there any echo, first of all? And hopefully we did hear Kate's little anecdote then. I didn't want to miss that out. We can hear you, no echo now. Good. Right.
Wonderful.
Oh, stepping into song. I stepped into song because I know what's coming. Yes, so this week we wanted to keep this one a bit of a like low key because I think this is definitely going to be much more your episode than it is mine. Although I can take part and I'm still going to be present and I'm going to have my things to say, you've got a lot more experience in this field than me. Musicals.
Indeedy.
Yeah. I say it every week. Every week's been really good to do, and they've been really great to sort of record this. But yeah, I am secretly looking forward to this one. When you mentioned it, I'd already thought about doing it anyway, and I was like, because you know what? Because for anyone who doesn't know, me and Mrs. Bingley share a brain cell, and it happens quite often where I'll say something and or you'll say something and I'll respond with, I was about to say that, or I was about to do that. It usually happens quite a lot when we play Fortnite and stuff like that. And yeah, when you said about doing the musical, I was like, I wanted to tell you about that. So yeah, here we are, week 5, or episode 5, I should say. Over the last 6 weeks that we've been doing this. Yeah, we missed a week. Doesn't matter. Why? We just couldn't do it 1 week. It's fine.
It was me. I was why.
But yeah, so over the last 6 weeks, we've been doing this. We're starting off going through games, movies, music, just in general. Like I think it was mostly aimed at, like, the last episode was mostly live events, like live concerts. And then, yeah, and here we are, musicals. So I don't know if you want to start this, actually, because like I said, it's much more your thing than mine. But yeah, I can join in at any point if I recognise something, if I want to add something. But yeah, do you want to roll with this one this week?
I mean, I can do. I certainly can do. So first of all, I'm just going to clarify, there is an actual technical difference between a musical and a play with music. Okay. There's a couple of small differences, but we're talking about musicals, i.e. a stage production that is driven through song. So not something that has musical numbers, but something whereas if you took out the music, there would be no show.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have always been an avid lover of musicals. I remember being, about 9-10 years old in my one of my grandfather's cars, listening to the CD soundtracks of Phantom of the Opera and Love Never Dies, and adoring it. There is something for me about how emotional musical numbers are that they've just always resonated with me, and I really do adore them. It has long been my personal ambition to go and see Phantom of the Opera in London West End and see the chandelier fall. I have been to many shows. I've been to a couple of them more than once. We are actually going to one next week.
We are indeed.
Are we not?
We are indeed. Yes.
Which we are all very excited about. But my love for musicals is quite infectious, as you have found out now that I've bullied you into liking musicals. So I'm gonna ask you a question first of all, because I know that the majority of your musicals experience comes from film renditions of stage productions, which nothing wrong with that at all. It can be a really good way to get into it. But as it stands, what would you say is your favourite?
What from
or
what
has
I've
been your favourite in the past?
Oh, right. I haven't been to many live productions. So it's very limited. So I'm gonna say the ones that out of all the ones I've seen, the one I enjoyed watching, going to see perform live was Mamma Mia. That's not necessarily I wouldn't say that might not be my favourite one to have watched, but it's my favourite one to have seen. Yes, it's more fresh.
I think Mamma Mia is a very classic one, to be fair. Like, I think for a lot of people, if you ask them what their favourite music is, it's very rare that somebody will say Mamma Mia. No, but you will also find it really hard to find somebody who actively doesn't like Mamma Mia.
Because I've got to compare it to what I have seen. So I had seen prior to that live. Again, it's live. Going to the theatre and seeing it. I saw the musical rendition of Only Fools and Horses, which for a Londoner, I know the TV show, so I was very dubious about watching it, and then a lot of people said the same thing, because it's like, why? And why? I think, do you know what it is? A lot of people who grew up with watching it had their back up against it. They're like, oh no, really? It's not going to be the same because it's David Jones. No, it's not going to be the same because it doesn't have the actors in it. But what I came away with experiencing was, it was very funny. I loved the songs. I listened to the music on the way home. So it did what every musical should do: gets you talking about it in a positive way, and then have you listen to the live record, like the stage recording of like the album. Like if you haven't walked away, like I listened to Mamma Mia coming home from that, and I think I said it to you. Maybe I'm messaging. Yeah, I'm on the train home. I'm listening to Mamma Mia.
Yeah, I think you did.
Instantly did the same thing with the Only Fools and Horses. So it was like, I understood the comedy program, and there was, I know, again going back to that, people don't like to see change in these sort of things. Oh, you can't change this, you can't change that. Something I might come back to in a little while as well, because of something else I'm about to.
Something I do want to talk about. It is something I do want to talk about.
But yeah, changing in musicals, having different people do play the parts. Do you know what? The story was like familiar, because I was, late coming into it, but I caught up quite quickly with a lot of it. My family were used to it. I know my brother loves it, and all my family did. We all sort of had that thrown at us as kids, and we were like, right, okay, this is something that you should be watching. So we were like, yeah, great. And then to hear to them now, it's one of those sort of sitcoms that it's a little bit dated. because of some of the topics that gets mentioned. But like this doesn't go into the musical side of things; it just goes into the thing. So you couldn't really do that now. But I think we are missing a good comedy on TV. But anyway, yeah, that was one of the things I see, and I'm also. The only other time I've seen a musical was Starlight Express. Andrew Lloyd Webber's Starlight Express.
I've not actually seen that one.
That came out in the. I think it might have been written in the 60s. When you know the story, you probably go, yeah, that's definitely a 60s thing. I don't know what Andrew was smoking, but he was definitely doing something.
He had cats, so he was on all of the fucking drugs.
Oh yeah,
opiates everywhere.
Oh yeah. I mean, wasn't Phantom as well one of his? I'm not sure. No, it wasn't.
Yes, and Phantom was Andrew Lloyd Webber, but I don't know if it was 60s.
Yes, so so I'd seen that, but I'd heard it got shut down just after I'd seen it. I think it was. I can't remember. I was young, really young when I saw it. It's definitely aimed at a much younger audience. Although anyone can sort of watch them. But the story of that is basically kid in his bedroom plays train sets and tells his story out as an imagination, and it's a triumphant, victorious kind of thing. Not to spoil it, but let's face it, that's basically where we're going down. It's like, it's a story where, good overcomes evil kind of thing, and I don't know.
A lot of musicals are. It
aims at a younger audience.
Try to have a happy end.
Yeah, it's got pretty much a happy end. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But what I was mentioning before about it changing, there was a bit of I think there's a bit of an uproar about the new rendition of the much recent Starlight ones, whereas the old version had, the dominant male figures would have the ladies around him surrounding. The female characters were all supposed to be like compartments on the trains, so they were like the carriages. And if you were pulled along by a powerful, strong diesel engine, Greaseball was played by a male actor. And there was a bit of a thing where they changed it to a female actor instead. And that shouldn't really matter because it's a story from a child's perspective, but it's a story about trains. It's not like we're trying to change history by saying Henry VIII was a black woman. Do you know what I mean?
Although it's funny you make that joke though, because we did do it with the recent stage rendition of Dracula.
Yeah,
Cynthia Erivo was Dracula. She did the most amazing job.
Yeah. I didn't want to get political. I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to sort of bring the tone down. I'm just sort of suggesting that that I'm just making that connection of the
backlash is unwarranted.
Yeah. There's going to be backlashes towards something if you change the certain character who's been on the stage. Like, I don't remember it that well. I remember it was one of those theatres. It's very unique because you had the actors whizzing past you as trains whilst you're in the audience and they're going around you. I'm actually doing the motion.
Like Lion King.
Yeah. So they're running around you. They're actually on the train lines, as it were around the audience. So if you were fortunate enough to have seating, that they would be whizzing past you and you could feel the breeze. I have distinct memories of that being a thing. It was a very good musical. Again, it was aimed at kids. I was a kid when I watched it, just before it finished on the and then it went away, disappeared, probably did tours like a lot of musicals do. They probably did the tours, then went on and just disappeared for about 20 years, I think. And then it's just come back a couple of years ago, back in London. And that's where the backlash started of it changing some of the, the characters, changing. It's just a general gender role change. And I'm like, I don't know if that makes any difference. I don't think it does. Like, the character Greaseball is supposed to be this male figure who has all the ladies around him. And like saying, well,
women can be players too.
It's I don't. Do you know what? Again, I don't want to go into too much. I don't want to get into that because it's not something that this podcast is really going to aim at. But those are the only three I've seen. Again, it comes with controversial, it comes with backlashing, and it comes along with the Only Fools and Horses thing. But the Mamma Mia was, out of the three, I would say, because it's the most recent and I'm more adult about the understanding of what the musical is about, and some of the like some of its undertones in areas. There's small details. It's very sort of, tongue in cheek, I suppose, if you like. Very sort of cheesy in areas where you could say, that they're playing up to the idea that, do I spoil it? I can't say anything. Can I? Can I spoil it?
For Mamma Mia,
Yeah.
I think you can. It's been out long enough.
Yeah. One of the characters
Spoiler alert, if you've not seen it.
Okay, so one of the characters being gay and you didn't spot it, kind of thing. I can be I'm adult enough to understand where that was leading to, but not quite seeing the twist. So, do you know what I mean? That's all I was going to say about it, really. So those are my musical live versions that I've seen, that I've enjoyed, and Mamma Mia, I would say, out of all of them, I mean, I could say that they're all equally. If I was a kid, I wouldn't have understood Mamma Mia anyway, so not as much. But yeah, I would say Mamma Mia is my favorite one I've seen out of the three. I've yet to see the one we're going to see soon. So
yeah,
that actually may change.
I'm sure it will.
I'm almost convinced it will change. Yes. Anyway, yeah. So that's enough about me. I'm going to get off my political block and say no more on the subject. I think I've done enough.
Well, you've given me a pretty good in, to be honest, because there's always going to be some controversy when anything gets changed. Especially if you're basing a musical on something that people have already seen. Even now, after film renditions of stage productions, people expect the stage productions to change to fit the film.
Yeah.
There's always going to be that. But I can tell you now, a significantly bigger deal breaker for me, something that will truly break my immersion more than a gender flip, is accents.
Right.
Now, I say this for a very specific reason, because I took Baba Bingley, little Hannah, for her 16th birthday to go and see Les Mis on stage. Because it's a classic and it's something that every musical theatre nerd should go to see, and I knew she would love it. Okay, so we went, and it was only in Sunderland Empire, so it was a fairly small theatre, but it's still big enough for you to get the full experience. And one thing you should know about me is that as a musical theatre aficionado and a bit of a singer myself, one of my dream roles personally is Eponine from Les Mis. So I'm always hypercritical of people playing Eponine in Les Mis, because it's a role that, if I ever got the chance to be on stage, that would be one of the ones that I would love to go for. When we went to see Les Mis on stage, we had an Eponine, and she was, beyond this one fault, she was perfect for the role. The acting was superb. The emotion was there. She had a stage presence about her, which was just really wonderful. But she had a Scouse accent. And my God, I couldn't take her seriously. So Eponine has two really sad songs. I mean, the entire musical is quite tragic. It's a very tragic story. But she has two very tragic songs. On My Own, which is one of my powerhouses, which is like a song about yearning for her love interest, who just doesn't even notice her in that way. And she was singing it with a Scouse accent, and I was giggling. And then she has A Little Drop of Rain, which, again, I'm going to say spoiler alert. Skip forward like 45 seconds to a minute if you don't want to hear it, but it's been out long enough. Eponine does die at the end of the musical. It's not really a secret, it's a plot point.
Yeah.
But she sings this song, A Little Drop of Rain. And it's heartbreaking when done correctly. Like, it's the kind of tiny song in a musical that people will just like latch onto and sob for. And she had a really strong Scouse accent.
And it didn't hit the
and
films.
all I could think was, here's female Jimmy Carr on the stage singing about tragicness, and I lost my shit. I couldn't stop laughing. I felt so bad because apart from the accent, she was so perfect, but that was a deal breaker for me, and it really did ruin my immersion. That I feel is a fair thing to judge people for, because you might have noticed some people when they're like singing things or even doing like public speaking, you've heard of customer service voice, right?
Yeah.
People have the same thing when singing. If I'm singing a song, my accent is a lot closer to the accent of the person who originally sang the song. It's mimicry. I'll put my own spins on things, and certain things will still have my twangs. But a lot of the time, you try to emulate how the song originally sang. And so for me, accents, if it's only small and there's only little bits, I can put up with it. But when it's that strong, that does it takes me out of the story and it puts me back in the seat of the theatre. Whereas a good stage production, you'll forget that you're sitting watching it because you feel like you're part of it.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm just trying to compose myself from that idea because I don't know the song, but I just hear, I get what you mean by having a strong accent can really hit or miss on some people, and in this case, probably miss. I think probably it most definitely did. I thought, I don't know if I can actually come up with any sort of antidote towards in that way. I don't think there's anything I've heard.
That's fair. It's just a point that I wanted to talk about because it really does affect me.
But I think you're right. I think if you could spot an accent and it's
when you can spot it and it doesn't fit in.
Yeah.
Because I get it. Now, I will say, for some people, their accents work. When me and Hannah went to see Chicago live in Sheffield, I think it was, the guy playing Billy Flynn had a strong accent. But because he played into it and he had like the movements to go about it, and his character was very, innuendos and joking and, he was quite a skeevy character. So the guy really played up his accent, it sounded like, and it worked with what he was doing. So I think in certain cases, it does take a very talented actor to do it, and not everybody would be able to. But I think if you can make it part of your character, it'll work. But if you're just singing in your accent, it's not going to
work. Yes.
But this is why a lot of people on stage productions take singing lessons. It's a lot of the time, it's not actually for, some of it will be for techniques and, helping to expand your vocal range. But a lot of it is actually diction and pronunciation and training yourself out of those stronger sounds.
Yeah.
Which I always find very interesting.
Yeah, no, I get what you mean. And it does make a difference if you can sing something strongly enough and you can pull it off, then great. But if clearly this one didn't work as well.
Not quite.
No. Didn't hit the mark.
I will say though, so my favourite musical of all time is Phantom of the Opera by Andrew Lloyd Webber. It's a classic. It's in my opinion his biggest piece of work. It's not Katz's, I know that, but for me it's his biggest piece of work. It's beautiful. It has hints of like the old story of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's set in France in an opera house, and it's just drama and flair. And I love it. However, the best thing that I've ever seen live, for me, is a bit of a difficult question. But I think my answers are probably a little bit more nostalgic rather than technical for those.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think my best experiences in the theatre have always been for the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Yeah.
It's a camp musical. It's fun. It's lighthearted. There's audience participation. There's heckling, which is always novel. And whenever I go to see the Rocky Horror Picture Show, I just feel like I know I'm going to have a good time. But I think the best musical I ever saw, the one that probably had the most impact on me after watching it live, was the first time I went to see Vampires Rock.
Okay.
Now,
not heard of
Vampires
it.
Rock, if you don't know what that is, it's kind of similar to Mamma Mia in the sense that it's a musical written around an artist's albumography.
Oh, all right. Okay.
So it was a musical written around the songs of Meatloaf.
Oh, that one. Yeah. I
Yes.
think I had heard of there being a
And
musical around that, but not knowing what it was.
Can't remember how old I was when I went to see it, but I know I went to see it with my mother and her cousin when I was probably at some point early teens, if not preteen, quite young.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was a vampire obsessed teenage, like preteen. I really was. I read way too many vampire novels. Still do, but that's a different point. And I mean, I love Meatloaf's music anyway. It's very technical. There's a lot of layers, and I mean, I think he's one of the greater composers and performers
Yeah.
of our time. But this musical, because it was all songs that I knew, but you could see how they hadn't just said, right, we want to do Meatloaf songs, how can we force them in? They said, right, here's a list of Meatloaf songs. This is the general storyline I want to do. What do I have to do to the plot in order to make these songs feel natural? So it felt like the kind of musical of, Les Mis, Mamma Mia, Phantom of the Opera, whereas it was written as a musical. It felt like something where the songs had been written for the musical, despite it being the other way around. And I remember at the time being so not just impressed that they'd actually managed to do that and that it felt like something where the songs had been written for the musical, but the smaller set, the smaller cast, just, it was so impressive. And it was so big, and Meatloaf's music is quite big in general anyway. I think you'll probably understand what I mean. Like it's not loud, but it's large. And some of the songs are like 5 minutes long.
Yeah.
Right. But watching that musical has to have been my best experience, because I think I was just so overwhelmed with, like, I know that this music wasn't written for this play, but was this music written for this play? Like, it had me second guessing myself, which, looking back on it, was brilliant. And a couple of years ago, me and Mr. Bingley went to see Vampires Rock Ghost Train, which was the sequel that was written. And I think they only did one tour of it, and now they've stopped doing them. And getting to go see that while it was on stage was brilliant, because it was the same guy who'd written the first one. And he'd done it again. This time it was more, just general rock songs and some Meatloaf. But it was the same story. Like, it was a sequel to the first story with the same characters. And you could tell. And it was just, I was so impressed with it. I did also go and see, now I can't remember the name of it. I might have to look it up real quick. Give me 2 seconds. Oh, that was it. Never mind, I've remembered the name. I went to go see We Will Rock You, which is a similar thing done to the music of Queen.
I was about
to. But that one didn't have the same effect for me. It wasn't as memorable, which I think is why the Vampires Rock one kind of probably does take the best performance for me. Because I've seen a couple of those different types, but that one was the one that I actually actively remember.
Yeah, I was going to say, because there was. So I don't know why I was just trying to look it up, but while she was saying about that, I did actually look up "We Will Rock You" based around the same, because it's based around the same idea of using Queen's music by a book by Ben Elton, actually. But also, so I was a little bit confused with what you said about the Meatloaf musical, because I know that there was a Bat Out of Hell, the musical, which was based around the album, I think. Yeah, album Bat Out of Hell. So I was a little bit confused by when you said that, but it could just be under a different name.
It might be under a different name. I'm sure it was called Vampire Rock.
Let me
just have a look.
Not to correct you if that's the case.
Okay, so there are two different ones. So there is Bat Out of Hell, which is the musical adaptation of just the album. Then there's Vampires Rock, which is what I was talking about, which is heavily inspired by Meatloaf. It also has some songs which aren't just Meatloaf.
Yes, okay.
This one takes like a lot of Meatloaf songs, but then throws in some like others, AC/DC, a little bit of Bonnie Tyler, just to kind of supplement.
Okay.
That's the one that's my favourite. I have seen Bat Out of Hell as well, I believe, but Vampires Rock was my favourite.
Right. Just to confirm and clear that, in case there was any confusion, should anyone sort of write in to us and say, look, I wanted to double check on that as well. So, yeah. Actually, I was right on both occasions. There's been loads of musicals, and I'll go back to the Rocky Horror pitch. Obviously, I know that there's a stage production of it. There's also there's a film, isn't there?
Yes.
Tim
Curry,
as it was
has
Tim
no
Curry.
business looking that good in suspenders.
Absolutely not. No, it does not. And that's the only time I've ever seen it. But I've obviously that's God, what is it, like something like 1970s or something like that? I can't remember the exact the year of it. But I've known that to be on TV so many times, and so many people have gone, "Oh, have you ever seen that?" I'll be like, "No." This goes back to a time when I just generally either couldn't bring myself to admit it, or I just blatantly refused that was a thing. And I was like, now I'm just become more open about the fact that I do actually like musicals, and now I'll be like, yeah, you know what? So what? So I'd never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show until we had a little get together on Discord, and we had a movie day on Discord, and we're like, we do it a couple of times. We've done it a few times on the old Discord and that, and we've sat down and watched Rocky Horror, and that was the first time I've seen it. It was the first time I'd ever seen it, and that was probably most recently for a film that's been out for God knows how long, and for obviously a stage production as well. And I enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. After all, that year I did dress up for Halloween. So
yes,
as you may remember,
indeed, let's do the time warp again.
Let's not. I wasn't going to go into the rendition, but yeah, that I could just hear myself saying. I teased you there.
I could hear it. I had to say it.
Yeah, that was fun. It was fun. It was a fun film. Weird, but fun. And then I kind of get it a little bit as well. I kind of understood it. A lot of people would drop lines from it, and I'd be like, I don't get it. I don't know what you mean, because I've never seen it. You know? But I would say there's been a lot of musicals that I've seen via like video rather than seeing it live. You know, the recorded versions. More recently, and more in line with what you're saying about musicals, you know, being a thing of where music tells a story. Hamilton. I probably wouldn't mind seeing that one live, although I have looked at tickets and they're quite they're not cheap. I mean, we could talk a little bit about the pricing later on, but I don't want to get into that right now. But yeah, Hamilton, I'd seen that again as another one of those where we sat down, watched it, really enjoyed it. Hamilton is kind of, it's good, and it's in its music, but its music choices is very different from that of what you'd normally listen to. It's very much modern.
I do want to talk about this. I do want to talk about this because there's been. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but there's been there's been a little bit of an uprising, not so much like recently, but definitely in the past 10 years, I'd say, of musicals going back to subverting expectations. Because initially that's what musicals were. You know, it was telling stories, and it was, you know, subverting tropes and exploring ideas that maybe couldn't be done in like film or like TV. Yeah. And you think about recently the likes of Hamilton, 6 even.
Yeah.
It's not exactly the music that you think of when you think of musicals. But they are still, in their own right, really good musicals. And I'm really, really happy that people are, like, there are new people coming on the scenes who are seeing these stories and thinking, you know what, I could do something with this. And then they're pulling out of their arse something that nobody's ever done before.
Yeah.
And starting these new trends. Because, like you said, the music in Hamilton is superb. But it's based on rappers and, you know, 90s, 2000s, whereas your classical musicals are based on 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yes.
It's a whole new approach to it. And I'm going to stop my aside right there and let you get back to what you're saying, because I kind of stole your moment.
No, that's okay. That's all right. I was just going to say, because it, like, literally what you're saying there pretty much summarizes where I was going with it. It is sung and rapped. It's not like, but it's got R&B, it's pop, it's soul. It's done. I did have like a synopsis which I couldn't get to right now. But yeah, it's evolves around, you know, obviously the American Revolution War, with George Washington, even Warrington. Who's he? George Washington. You know, and it's his career as a lawyer and a Secretary of Treasury. I mean, that's how it goes, and it's like so. It is a biography. Biographical. Yes, thank you. I knew what I wanted to say and I just couldn't get there. Thank you. Yeah, so it is very I can't say it again. I'm going to stop talking now.
It's a biography, Steve. It's biography.
Biography, yeah. There you go. It's done very well. And I would never have watched it had it not been for your introduction, because you've definitely influenced me, and you've definitely opened up my inner ability to want to watch more and be open about wanting to watch more, because I think I've suppressed it for a long time, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to say to you now I do actually enjoy it, and that be truthful, because there's no way could we have conversations, or when we're playing games, there's no way could I suddenly drop into song if I didn't enjoy it. And I weren't just doing it just to pop in an earworm. Yes, I do that, and sometimes I can be a bit of a bastard.
And you do it quite well.
Yeah, but like, I wasn't going to mention another episode. I wasn't going to go into another episode and mention Phas. But even when we play something like Phasmophobia. Yes, I am mentioning that game again.
God damn it, we couldn't make it 2 streams in a row.
I know. But the music box comes, that comes from me just dropping from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang's music box song. And I do it all the time. And you know I do it all the time. You know, if I ever find it, you're going to hear me say it. And I cannot not do it now, just because it's become such a big thing. For me, honestly, if I'm playing it and you do see it and you haven't heard me see it, it means that I haven't spotted it, or you've taken it already and hid it, which is fair. But yeah, getting back to Hamilton briefly, yes. The music in it is great. I do have a couple of songs that I do actually like. Burn being one of them. So if anyone's seen the production, you know, without spoilers, Burn is a
Philippa Sue
really
did a wonderful job.
absolutely amazing song, and it's Quiet Uptown. I think is one of
That
those.
was so underrated. Yeah.
But yeah, for me, those two stood out a lot, and I do actually. I know we can't play. I'd love to be able to, but I know for licensing reasons we can't play the songs in the background or anything like that. It's the same as last week's episode. To be fair, there's a few songs that I'd love to be able to play in the background, just so we can. A lot of podcasts or a lot of bigger productions can do that because they've got permissions. We don't, and I'm not going to. Yeah, sadly, we don't have that, but I'd love to be able to play it for you. But if you haven't seen any of those, I urge you to go out and watch them. And if you haven't seen it, and then when you've seen it, then listen to the album. That one in particular stands out for me quite a lot, just because I think it is definitely it's storytelling done so well, and it's done differently. Kate, I think you warned me about it going into the film about how the music may be different. I know we talk about it on the previous podcast. Again, I go back to that previous one. Me saying about how I don't like the R&B, or I don't like. I'm not, not that I don't like it. I'm just not a big fan of it. And the pop, the soul, that kind of rap style. I'm not a massive fan. But it was so good. It was such an amazing production. It was such a good yes, I've only seen the recorded version of it, like the recorded stage version of it. But my God, it was absolutely, it was beautiful. It was brilliant. It was sad. It was happy. There was happy times in it. Oh, there was a few times I laughed. Just thanks to the George Washington. I think anyone who's seen it knows exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah,
I tell you, sorry, I just heard a tiny bit of Mr. Bingley last week. Yeah, I mean, me and Hannah have seen Hamilton on stage, and it was a really good production. My only notes on it were that the person who played Eliza wouldn't have been my choice for the role. She was really good in the second half, but in the first half, you could tell it wasn't comfortably in a vocal range.
Yeah.
But King George.
Yeah.
When I tell you that, for anybody who hasn't seen it, Hamilton as a musical is political. The whole thing is about the founding fathers of America. It's about how they set up America, so it is a political story.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But there's a specific point in the musical.
Oh, so did I say George Washington? I may have.
Yeah, you did. You meant King George.
Sorry, I meant King George. Sorry, yeah. Anyway, go on. Sorry.
I knew who you meant.
Yeah.
But there's a certain point in the musical whereas King George sings the phrase "awesome, wow." And when I tell you, when me and Hannah went to see the stage production, this guy playing King George did the most perfect. I mean, it was perfect with McCree, Steve. I would have thought he was in the room. The most perfect impression of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind, in this story, King George is portrayed as the aggressor. He is the dictator. He was a dictator, And when I tell you, this production was paused for a full 5 minutes while everyone stopped laughing. You could see that he was struggling. You could hear people in the wings laughing. The mics couldn't stop it. Everybody lost it with how accurate this impression was. And I was just I was falling over myself. It was brilliant. But I do get what you're saying. I'm not the biggest fan of, rap and R&B, but I think in Hamilton, I really enjoy it because it might be music that I'm not necessarily a fan of, but it's that storytelling aspect again for me.
Yeah.
Hamilton was actually written as Lin-Manuel Miranda's university thesis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's how he wrote it. And you could tell how much time he spent on this. All of the technicalities between using these techniques of rap in order to not just tell stories, but to identify characters. Alexander Hamilton, for example, he sings in couplets. When there's a song quite early on, Aaron Burser, and when it gets to the part with Lafayette and Johns Lawrence and Mulligan, they're not singing in couplets, they're singing stanzas, 4-line verses, which is pretty standard, And when I actually I watched Lin-Manuel Miranda speak about this on a talk show, and I hadn't actually realized it, but it was so beautifully done because they're introducing themselves, telling their own story so far in 4 lines. For example, I'm John Lawrence in the place to be, 2 pints of San Adams, but I'm looking on 3. He's somebody who wants to be involved. He enjoys having a drink. He's a socialite. Great. That's a story. 4 lines. When Alexander Hamilton sings his response to those 3 people, he condenses them into 2. Right? Now, that in itself is difficult. But when you keep in mind that the whole point of this character of Alexander Hamilton is he speaks like he's running out of time. He is desperate to get as much done as possible. He cannot stop. He will not stop. He doesn't know when to stop. And all of these little technicalities of, fitting extra beats into lines and taking what other people have said and condensing it so that he can fit more in the same amount of time. It's expertly done. I mean, Lin-Manuel Miranda is this generation's Andrew Lloyd Webber for me. He is a true artist of musical theatre. And you can tell with the works that he's done. I mean, you look at Hamilton, that was his university thesis. You look at, what's it called, In the Heights, the one about the streets of Brooklyn. That one was made into a film. Again, very well received, very kind of different R&B, more R&B with like Latin influences. You look at even his Disney collaborations, you look at Encanto, and the amount of research that goes into those songs and the depth and the layers behind it, that to me is what makes a musical. Is all of the work behind the scenes to make sure that every single word is perfect. And every line fits together. And no matter how many times you listen to it, there's always something new for you to realize when you're listening to the story.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing. It really is.
Yeah. No, I can't really sort of add much more to this because I think it is one of those, like, again, going back to what I said, I haven't seen it live, but I've seen the live recording, and just for me, I've a lot of these, what I've seen now on multiple occasions, but to see it for the first time and to be drawn into that with I warn you now, Steve, you might not understand some of and then you give me the warnings, you give me some, I'm like, right, so I've paid attention, which is something I find very difficult to do anyway. So because you've given me that warning going into it, I've had to pay attention, and because I've had to pay attention, I've understood the story first time round instead of like I said, I've watched it multiple times, but I understood the story, for the first time round, which is something I can't always do. I can't always take in information too quickly at once. And I think because you've pre-warned me about how the music's played out, that helped massively for me, so I could concentrate and not be distracted. I so tried to make sure I was focused whilst we were watching it, because I thought if there's any questions, this might get a Q&A at the end. I don't want to make it call out. But no, it was good. And that's also, I think, because I was given encouragement to watch it, it's made me appreciate it a lot more. And I think this goes without saying. I think because I've been encouraged to watch any of these, whether I watch them now or later on in the future, like whether it's We Will Rock You, Bat Out of Hell, which I haven't seen. If I do eventually see those, I can at least say I'm now appreciating the like what goes into doing them. And it's not just like, yes, I've seen films and stuff with where there's music in them, and I think that's what you're saying about you can separate the two, can't you? But yeah, I appreciate you done that for me. So yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, that's why I enjoyed it, because I understood it by having to make sure that for me it's more of a a distraction thing. I find myself being distracted. I'm gonna switch off. But yeah. So yeah, Hamilton. Love to go and see it live, but yeah, I'm sure I will if it continues to run, and I'm sure hopefully
it absolutely will.
Yeah. Yeah. Hamilton.
Yeah, I mean, something else I kind of want to talk about.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the opposite of what we've been talking about. Obviously, a lot of musicals take inspiration from historical events. I think of Hamilton. Phantom of the Opera was about a famous opera house in France burning down. You've got Six, which is about Henry VIII's wives, and I'm trying to think of another example, but I've just gone blank, so I'm not gonna. But there's a lot of musicals at the minute, newer musicals, which are being made posthumously after films. And I'm mentioning this in particular because you've got the likes of Shrek.
Yeah.
There is a Shrek the musical.
Yeah.
And it is quite big. And it's supposed to be quite good. Not something I've seen. It is something I would go to see because I just think it would be insane. Frozen is now a stage production, which has become very huge, especially for younger kids. Legally Blonde, after the Reese Witherspoon film, which I have seen live, and it is wonderful. But you've then got some newer ones, which I just want to touch on. Recently, in the past couple of years, you've had the production of Beetlejuice, the musical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is, it's really good. You'd be surprised at how well that translates to the screen. You've got Titanic, which is a Titanic musical. There is apparently a 9/11 musical, which, of course, Hannah sent me the link to, but I'm not going to look up the name. Burlesque, the musical after the film. However, in 2026, there has been a Broadway musical adapted from the 1987 cult classic, The Lost Boys.
Ooh.
Talk about a throwback.
Right.
And there has been a Devil Wears Prada musical.
Yes.
Which is an original score in London by Elton John.
Yes, it is. Yes.
A little bit of a theatre debut. But one film to musical adaptation that's really caught my attention recently, and I'm a little bit late to this one, is The Death Becomes Her musical.
Right.
Now, I haven't actually seen the film. I know it's got Meryl Streep in it. It is on my to-watch list. We need to get around to it for a movie night because I think you'd probably enjoy it.
Yes.
But I got onto it because there was a clip going around on TikTok, a sound clip from the musical, where something happens and somebody walks in and goes, "That was rude. That was pretty fucking rude." And it was so catchy, I had to know where it was from. So I looked at this musical, and oh my god, it is the definition of camp. It is funny. It is dramatic. It's all about these two women who are supposed to be best friends but fucking hate each other. And the music is so goddamn catchy. So there's a song in there called Tell Me Ernest, which is all about one of the best friends seducing the other best friend's fiance. The song about flirting. There's a song in there called The Plan, which, without giving too many spoilers, is about Ernest's plan once things go wrong. And he is drunk the entire time and starts hallucinating his medical tools coming alive and dancing around him. There's songs about about a woman falling downstairs, and about a woman being shot, and about people coming back to life. those aren't spoilers, by the way. This is very common knowledge for The Death Becomes Her film.
It is, yes,
and
they
I think
are.
for the musical.
They are.
So I just want to say, like, when it comes to musicals, don't be a snob. You know, you've got your classics, yes. You've got your new theatre, which has been generated in the same kind of classical manner, but don't write off musical adaptations of, film adaptations of musicals are exactly the same. They're not going to be as good as the stage production, but they're still going to be pretty damn good. But I think musical productions of films have so much more to offer. Because there's something about taking a story that people already know and going, okay, but like, what if it had a soundtrack?
Yeah.
That just gives it a whole nother dimension for you to play with.
Yes.
Because you can add in so much more like subcontext and, like thoughts and feelings, or like even just the way that people are dancing can change how you look at the scene.
Yeah.
So you should absolutely check them out.
I was gonna say because there's I had like, yeah, you've definitely picked up on the whole film to thing. I didn't know that was a thing, but I did know about, like, I mean, it's ended now, but there was Back to the Future as well. Back to the Future, there was.
I didn't even think about that one. Yeah.
Well, I used to work down on the Strand, so I would pass them daily. Obviously, 6 being one of them. 6, Back to the Future. You had the Pretty Woman, which was like the Richard Gere film about
where
he dates the
Julia
prostitute.
Roberts.
Yeah. So that was a thing. That was actually, yeah. But yeah, like you said, it's all these film to musicals, because we've seen it before, like where we've had like game to film or film to game, or we've had it with other medias, and obviously musicals is
TV to film to TV.
Obviously, yeah, because obviously what I said about with the Only Fools and Horses comedy sitcom, they done that as, and it, in the right hands, the right the right piece of music and stuff, it actually works. It can work really well. Not to say that I've seen all of those that we've mentioned, but like, I know that it can work. You've just got to look at some.
The point still does stand. I think the point I was trying to get to is that it doesn't really matter which 2 types of media you choose. But where was I going with this? Yeah, it doesn't really matter which 2 pieces of media you choose. But going from one to the other gives you the opportunity to add so much more. I mean, throwback to our other, podcast episodes, you think of book to film adaptations, The Lord of the Rings, for example, such a good adaptation.
Yes.
You think of film, TV to film, the Firefly TV series ended with the Serenity film. You think of film to TV. I cannot think of an example of that off the top of my head, but like, when you take all of these different types of media that we've talked about so far on the podcast, they all have their own pros and cons. They all have their own tropes and their own delicacies and their own fans. And I think it's such a delightful thing to be able to look at something across multiple different forms of media and go, yeah, no, I can see why each of you have done that. And I can see how these different types of media have affected how you've created this. But it's all the same story when you boil it all down. It's brilliant.
It really is. Yeah. Obviously, Rocky Horror is one of its own sort of musicals in its right, because it's
Rocky Horror is always its own genre.
Yes. I was just going to say, because it's already a musical, but they've just put it on film, or they've taken it to the stage, and they just haven't. Yeah. They've just adapted it for one media over the other, or one thing for over the other. So yeah, that already worked. No, I do want to see. I do definitely want to see more musicals. Like we said, that we're not that far away now before I'm going to see another one. So, I'll get back to you on that as to what my thoughts are.
Okay, for next podcast.
For the next podcast, at least. Yeah, I don't want to talk about it now because it does have its own adaptation in more ways than one, I might add.
I suppose that'll be a really good piece to talk about when it comes to like multimedia.
Yes.
So I might have to save that for the topic of a podcast after we've been to see the stage production for sure.
Yeah, I'm going to save that for then.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so yeah. Sorry to sort of like dick tease and all that, but but you know, you're gonna have to find out what it was, what we went to see in a couple of weeks' time when we actually do, after we've seen what we are talking about to see.
If you want to know, you'll have to come back. Deal with it.
Deal with it, exactly. But yeah, I don't know where to go from this because, like,
I have somewhere we can go from this. Because I will admit, I was a little bit of a dick tease earlier.
Right.
This is less to do with musicals and more to do with theatre in general.
Okay, yeah, all right.
But I have a really funny story to tell you, Mr. Steve.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm going to set the scene. And this sounds like a very tragic story, and it is. But the outcome of it is really funny, I promise you, so stick with me. So, my grandmother's cousin, Diane, had a son called Geoff, after his father.
Right,
Apologies, you will hear Mr. Bingley in the back. And Geoff, for the last segment of his unfortunately short life, was in the army. Okay. Geoff worked in what was known as the Deep Cut Barracks. Now, if you're a bit of a militia aficionado, you will know of what happened at the Deep Cut Barracks. Geoff was found at 21 years old, shot at point blank in the back of his head in the barracks, and it was ruled a suicide. There were 4 soldiers around the same time who were found that way. Now, Geoff's dad, Geoff Sr., my Auntie Diane's husband, went to write an obituary about Geoff, and he wrote this gorgeous, really heartfelt obituary to put in the local newspapers. It was something like 2,000 words. You know, it was soul-wrenching and beautiful and harrowing. And he went to go get it published, and he got told that they charged by the word. And it was going to cost him several grand to get it put in the newspaper. So he said, all right, guess I'm not doing that then. So what do I put for my son's obituary? Oh, I know what I'll do. Based on the prices per word, I could probably afford, say, 5 words. Geoff dead, disco for sale.
Right.
Because my cousin Geoff had this huge, like, DJ deck. It was one of his hobbies to the side. And this obituary got a little bit of attention from certain people. And this is my family's claim to fame. Because from October 9th to November 8th in 2008, at Live Theatre in Newcastle, there was a theatre piece being performed by Decca Walmsley, Chloe Lang, Libby Davidson, Neil McKimbin, produced by Deborah Bruce, called Geoff Dead, Disco for Sale.
Oh!
And you can look this up online. Okay, it was a co-production by the Live Theatre and New Writing North. It was a specific piece responding to the inquiries of Deep Cut Barracks in the mid-2000s. It was a very political play. But the text of the play has been published by Oberon Books. You can go out and buy the screenplay of Geoff Dead, Disco for Sale. So, a story about my family has been on stage, and my Auntie Diane and my Uncle Geoff Sr. were characters in this play, and they approved of this, by the way, because they wanted to get as many visuals on this as possible. Like, you know, they're still pushing back and looking for reopening the case on this, even now, some 20 years later. And they're getting closer and closer every day, but we're not going to go into that politically, but yeah, if you look up the musical Geoff Dead Disco for Sale, you will find the story of my cousin for a full month in Newcastle. Because a couple of students saw the story and went, you know what? Yeah, I bet we could.
Oh my God, it's on YouTube.
It's on YouTube.
I'm trying to mute it quickly before it comes on, but there's a box pops of audience members. Okay, following performance of Geoff Dead Disco for Sale at Live Theatre in Newcastle upon Tyne. Oh shit! That must be the one, surely.
Yep, that is the one.
And it's a minute-long video of, and I'm not playing it because of the podcast, but yes.
Yeah.
But oh man, alive!
So yeah, there you go. Geoff Dead Disco for Sale. Go watch it. See if we can get it put back on the stage.
Bring it back.
Bring back Geoff Dead Disco for Sale. Give my auntie more royalty.
Yes, go now.
So there you go.
Wow.
There's a fun little anecdote for you.
Wow.
But is there anything else specifically that you want to talk about for musicals, or do we want to save it for next? Because I'm sure we'll come to this topic.
No, not really. No, I just wanted to. I was going to talk about something. No, but it's fine. We can do it for another time.
Well, you can talk about it, Steve. We do have time.
Do we have time? I mean,
I wanted to. 15.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I just wanted to sort of, because you said like the definition between a musical and, so if you take away, is it musical and theatre where there's singing?
Yeah. So a play can have music, but the difference between a play and a musical is that in a play, music supports plot. In a musical, the music is the plot. So with a play, if you took out the music, you would still have a story told by conversations and actions and scene directions and, overarching themes and all of that. With a musical, if you took out the songs, you wouldn't have a story left.
Right. Just because the reason I said this is because of my early introductions towards what I believe that they are classified as musicals stems from a lot of the Disney productions, and I think you know where I'm going with this.
Yeah,
with that of like the Sherman Brothers, for example, did a lot of, the original parent, throughout the 60s, the Parent Trap, Mary Poppins, Chitty Bang Bang, Bedknobs and Broomsticks.
Yeah.
And the list goes on, right? They did loads. And I want to know, what is your take on that? And where do you feel about those?
I really enjoy them. But for me, they're not musicals. They're musical films.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And the difference for me is, if we take, for example, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, okay? If you took out the song, Truly Scrumptious, you would still be able to know how the children feel about this woman.
Yeah.
Okay, if you took out Hushabye Mountain, you could still have a man helping all of these orphan children go to sleep and feel safe. If you took out all of the music in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, you would have granted a film that wasn't as hitting and probably wasn't as good, but you would still have a full film.
Yeah.
Okay. Compare that to, trying to think of a good example. Well, let's compare that with something like Mamma Mia, for example. All of the major plot points in Mamma Mia are the songs. Okay, you don't know about Donna's affairs until that first song. If you take that song out, that information goes away.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, if you take out Lay All Your Love on Me, you don't get to see that dynamic between Sophie and her fiancé. If you take out Take a Chance on Me, at the end, that whole romance subplot has no resolution. Do you see what I mean? But if you go to like Mary Poppins, you could quite easily remake the Mary Poppins films without those musical numbers and still have a film.
Yeah.
The films enhance. They aren't the main building blocks.
No, that's...
Now, that is not to say that they are not good, because musical films are their own thing, and they are also wonderful pieces of media, and I do adore them. But they're not musicals. They're musical films, very much in the same way that like Disney films are.
Yeah.
Take Cinderella. If you took the songs out of Cinderella, you would have a film that isn't quite as good, but you would still have a film.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me is the main distinction between a musical and a musical film, or a play with music in it.
Thank you for actually correcting that, because, like I said, if I wouldn't have known, to be honest, the difference.
I mean, keep
until
in
you
mind,
said
if you say the musical Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, no one's going to correct you. Okay, this is purely, I'm talking like this is base semantics. Nobody in any situation is going to go, well, actually, Mary Poppins isn't really a musical, it's a musical film. And if they do, you have my full, wholehearted permission to hit them in the face.
Fair enough.
Because they're being snobby for the sake of it.
There's been, of course, right, exactly.
It's not something that affects anything, and it shouldn't affect how you watch it or how you view it, but they are different. You know, it's like discussing the difference between a film sequel and an anthology of films. Very similar, but at its base, they are different.
Yeah. No, I would say that, like, obviously that was something I wanted to just to bring in, because it was certainly, like I said, at the start of me not going to, or not having my mind expanded to musicals as such, and my only real memories of what I would consider, now I've had the explanation laid out, but at the time, at least, of watching those types of films, obviously Christmas time, it's always the same things on the TV. Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Mary Poppins, they all come round. It's a Christmas thing. It's meant for the family. They are family films, after all. They are aimed at young audiences. So yeah, it was just obviously those are the only things I would have seen as, well, musical films, like, as you rightly stated, what the differences are, the definitions. But yeah, that I wouldn't have known any different. Obviously, now I do, but
it's something that a lot of people don't actually like. They know it deep down, but nobody actually actively thinks about it. Yeah. Because if you consider, like, for example, Mr. Bingley isn't the biggest fan of musicals. He'll put up with them for me because I adore them, but they don't bring him the same kind of joy as they do me. Okay. And one of the biggest things that Mr. Bingley has to say about certain musicals, think things like West Side Story, is he doesn't like them because it's all singing. All they do is sing.
Yeah.
That's a musical.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
Yeah. Because the plot is all driven by the singing. So people who typically who say, I don't like a certain musical, but they like others, typically it's because they're actually enjoying the musical films because they're used to having the plot driven by plot and not by song. But then they watch musicals like Phantom of the Opera, like Cats, like West Side Story, where the talking is minimal. The talking actually supplements the music rather than the other way around. And they don't like it because it feels wrong, because that's not how it's supposed to be. That's not how plot is supposed to be brought forward, which is what I was saying about how musical theatre was initially all about subverting these writing expectations. So people don't technically think about the difference between them. But if you speak to people, like, they know it intrinsically, they just can't put it into words.
Yeah.
Because it's not a conscious thought.
Yeah, no, good. I'm glad we sort of like got that distinction at least, because and then we can help. We're here to educate. And yeah, I've now opened up and admitted to liking a lot more than I would have done. And I revert back to when I said about Hamilton, what, musicals can mean and what it can be to watch, instead of like those annual films that we see every year since the birth of I don't know, time. They've been around every year. They're always on. But yeah, that's why I wanted to touch upon those two, because I know you did sort of like say about theatre and like thing, but I just wanted to get onto the film side as well, and just sort of try and get that distinction put across as to the differences. Not to say that they're they're bad films, just that's the differences between the two, and then you're still able to enjoy. Let's face it, if it weren't for Mary Poppins, if it weren't for Mary Poppins, but if it weren't for Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, Phasmophobia doesn't have much playtime in it, does it? Like, when I'm concerned.
Not for us, certainly not for us.
The music box that's wound by a kitty. As I go back to that previous...
It's when you know that Mr. Steve is sat in a cupboard in the corner and all you hear is just turning, turning, and then the front door closes. And you know you're about to die.
Your impending death is now imminent, because I've just said, "Oh, music box that's wound by key." Yes, it's strange how I do find, even in everyday work life, I do find. And this applies to, this doesn't just come into musicals, but if I was a real life musical, I mean, it would theatre with music in it, because that's where my real life would be, I think, because I do find myself, just if I struggle with something, or if I want to get through a hard shift, I find myself just throwing out songs just because obviously those are well-known music songs, the actual like chart music or whatever, but occasionally I'll be like, I did my own sort of like rendition of like SpongeBob SquarePants, because I was trying to get through the closing down stages of my workplace, which involves like cooking throughout the day and then washing up of a night time. When you're on your own and it's just you, and I don't care if anyone can hear me in the background, it's just me trying to get through my workplace, and all of a sudden I'm just like doing the theme song to SpongeBob. I mean,
I do it all the time. I mean, echolalia is a real thing.
Yeah.
And I am autistic. So I'll be sitting there, and if I need to concentrate in particular, if I need to concentrate on something, let's say I'm looking at a particularly hard piece of SQL code, I'm sitting there and I'm singing show tunes to myself because it helps me concentrate. Or I'll hear like a piece of a musical number from a TikTok, and it'll get stuck in my head, and I'll just be sitting there singing the same phrase over and over and over and over because it got stuck in my head, so now I have to sing it. And then I usually end up doing the rest of the musical. Yeah,
that's what, I've come home of an evening and gone, you know what, I've seen Hamilton. I've got to watch Hamilton now because I've had that song, one of the songs stuck in my head. I didn't want to go down that road, but because we've already covered it. But like, I think where I might be going with this. Earworms in particular being a thing, just hearing and song from and musical, and I won't mention it because I don't need to. And I think
I'll get it stuck in my head, and
I'm going to stick. It's stuck in your head already because you know what I'm talking about. And
yeah, it
is. But I'm not singing it out loud. No one else is going to have to put up with it, but we do. But yeah, it's just do you know what? For my everyday life, just getting through the day. Sometimes it's not just songs from the radio. It's now musical songs as well, and I'm welcoming that. I'm glad for that because it's a different change of. Some of them are different change of pace because the music themselves set the tone of what the musicals can be as well, can't they? I mean, obviously there has to be sad times as well as the happy times, but they're just there for joy, more than anything. I mean, anything can be, like songs can be, films can be, but musicals more than anything. For me, I mean, it might just be a personal thing, but musicals for me have now given me a much more. I will now think of like again, go back to when I said about closing down and just singing the SpongeBob. It doesn't have to be that. It could be anything. It could be anything from the musicals that I've seen recently with like yourself and obviously some of our friends that we've got in the Discord when we've sat and watched films, or those musicals that were recorded from the stage production. So yeah. I'm grateful for it. I've got a different thing to go to rather than just sort of sing the latest maybe Iron Maiden song or something. It doesn't have to be that kind of music. It can be musical music as well, and I very much appreciate that. So yeah, I'm glad we're doing this again. I know I said it right at the start. We have that one brain cell that bounces back and forth, and just before I might say something, just before you say something, we'll both say what we're both thinking, and it's like, hey, next week let's talk about, and it could be whatever it is. And last week we were saying let's talk about musicals, and I'm glad we did. I'm glad we both thought that, because I'm very happy that we've done this episode again.
Yeah,
I've learned distinction, and I've appreciated other musicals that I can go to. I didn't know about The Death Becomes Her, so that was something. Again,
listen to the soundtrack. You will love it. It is so camp. It's so flamboyant. It's on my just a slight aside for the audience. I have a musicals playlist on Spotify, and if anybody listening to the podcast wants it, hit me up. My handles are Mrs.Bingly on just about everything. But my musicals playlist on Spotify is now over 21 hours long.
Holy shit. That's a long ass
And
one.
my favourite songs from Death Becomes Her are on that playlist, Steve. I know you listen to it, so
yeah, like I said, I think I get a lot of my inspiration from listening to that. If I haven't seen the stage production or the film version of the stage production or vice versa, chances are I know that you've got it on your playlist, so I will. Yeah, I'm not going to deny that. Absolutely, of course I do.
Well, I think there's only really one thing left to do.
Oh, there is?
Is it? And isn't it? Isn't it? And isn't it? A porn game?
Of course there is.
So, this one's going to be, as it often is in this podcast, catered to this week's theme. So this is it or isn't it a porn game? However, this week we are playing Is It or Isn't It a Song About Sex? Now, for anybody who's listening to this podcast for the first time, what are you doing? Go back and watch the first episode. Watch all of the episodes. Listen to our voices. We like to be heard. But this is it or isn't it a porn game? This game was originated by my husband, Mr. Bingley, who found it really, really funny one day to go through the list of games on Steam and ask me the question of, is this or isn't this a porn game? And it was hilarious. So I introduced it to Mr. Steve in our previous podcast, the Bits and Pieces Gaming podcast. Go watch the episodes of that podcast if you haven't already. And we've decided to bring it into this one because I just think it's a good bit of fun. And with us talking about different pieces of media, we do now get the chance to explore some things we haven't already. So when we were talking about books, we said, is it or isn't it a smut book? When we were talking about films, I can't remember. Did we do one for films, Steve? I can't remember.
I don't know if we did.
But anyway, I've done one for musicals. So I have a list of 5 songs from musicals here. I'm going to read out the song and read out the musical that it's from. I'm going to pin it in the chat on Twitch if anybody's watching on Twitch. And I need you to tell me, is it or isn't it a song about sex? Once people have put their guesses in, I will reveal the answer. And if you get all of them right, well done. You're a musical theatre nerd and an aficionado in songs about sex. What do you want from me? The first song that we have is from the musical Cabaret, which should tell you a fair bit because that's a very risque musical anyway. And this song is called Two Ladies. That's Two Ladies from the musical Cabaret.
Right. Okay. My thoughts on this is that I think I know what Cabaret is. Other than it's obvious what it's edging towards in its context. But yeah, I think it's. I'm going to say yes, it is.
Okay, you're saying yes, it is. We've got a couple of people in chat. Does anybody want to take a guess on is this or isn't this a song about sex? Going once, going twice. Okay, I can reveal that song that Two Ladies from the musical Cabaret is a song about sex. It is a song about a man wanting to have a threesome.
Oh shit! Wow, I might have to actually watch this.
What, the threesome or the musical?
I mean, sure.
All right, the next song that we're going to go for is from a bit of a classic, Fiddler on the Roof, and it's called Do You Love Me? Is this or isn't this a song about sex?
Do you love me, Fiddler on the Roof? See, I know, I recognise the name Fiddler on the Roof, but I could never have connected what you're trying to. I could never have connected it, but the fact you went Fiddler on the Roof, I'm like, oh yeah, hello. just the title alone is enough. But right, I'm going to say no, it's not.
Okay, we've got a vote for no. Do we have any more?
Do we have any more?
Going once, going twice. Okie dokie. I can tell you that Do You Love Me from the hit musical Fiddler on the Roof is not a song about sex.
Ooh.
This song is actually, so it's quite interesting. This song is between two fairly main characters who were married through an arranged marriage, and both of their daughters have just married for love. So they're actually questioning, like, do you actually, I know we didn't start the same way, but do you actually love me after all this time that we spent together? So it's a really sweet kind of, view, a really interesting way to challenge the idea of, like, what is the right or wrong way to marry somebody, and can these arranged marriages end up having the same results as people who've married for love, which I think is quite lovely.
Yeah,
okay, the next song.
It's a nice, sweet song.
It's very sweet. The next song.
Sorry, I read it before you mentioned it. Sorry.
Yeah, the next song everybody will know. If you don't know it, get out from under that rock. Go listen to this song. You're missing out. It is from Chicago. It is called All That Jazz. It will now be stuck in your head. You are welcome. Is this or isn't this a song about sex?
So right, one. Yeah, we've had one of each so far.
Are you looking for patterns in my work, Steve?
I'm looking for patterns. I'm trying to find a pattern. But I would say yes. I'm going to say yes. Yes.
You're going to say yes? Do we have any other offers from chat? Going once? Going twice? Okie dokie. I can reveal that All That Jazz from Chicago is not a song about sex. So All That Jazz is a song really describing and exploring the freedoms that a woman can have in the 1920s. So it does talk about sex, and it's a very sexual song in the dances that they're doing. But the song, if you listen to the lyrics, it's all about, I want to be a jazz singer, I want to go to the clubs. Has the lyrics, I'm no one's wife, but oh, I love my life. It's talking about the freedoms that you can have when being a working woman and challenging that status quo, which at the time was all women get married and then look after the home.
Yeah, right, okay.
Not actually a song about sex, although it is a rather sexual song.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, the next song is from the musical Rent, and it is called Contact.
I'm not too familiar about this one. I mean, judging by my previous answer, but this one definitely I'm not too familiar with. I've heard of Rent. I mean, chances are I would have heard of all of the musicals. Just having that slight interest in me and then not exploring it until a later life. But
okay, I can give you a couple of hints if you're not familiar with the musical.
I would say
the musical Rent explores the lives of people living in Bohemia. I think it's in New York City that it's based. It's kind of shows the reality of like 1980s AIDS America.
Ooh.
And it explores a lot of different people and the idea of like living in renting apartments and being part of this like underbelly of New York.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, is this song about sex?
See, I think you might have given it away there. So I want to say yes. Because
You're going to say yes?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I can reveal this song is about sex. In particular, it's about the sex lives of the main characters and in New York City's underground party scene. So there's a lot of themes of, the dualities of life and death, because it is exploring the realities of living with AIDS at the time, like the desires of connection and, wanting that kind of physical contact. But, it really leans into that kind of tragic irony of wanting that contact, but living in a world where there's this terminal sexually transmitted disease and not being able to. It's a very good song. I do recommend you listen to it. And the last song is from one of my Hannah's favourite musicals, one which she did take me to see, and I was honestly quite horrified because it was not what I was expecting. This is Dead Girl Walking from Heathers.
Shit. No. Oh, wait a minute. Ooh.
Do you know this musical?
I know the film.
This is based on the film, the 1980s film with Winona Ryder.
I know the film. Winona Ryder, yeah. It's very
Dead Girl Walking from Heathers. Is this or isn't this a song about sex?
Yeah, I'm trying to see. I can only think about the film and whether or not I know that there is undertones of it throughout the film. There's like, are we going to get it on and are we going to get off again? No, trying to give it away too much, but it's an old film. It's like, it's an 80s film.
Yeah, it's the 80s.
So
the time frame for spoilers has elapsed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I will say, see, how many have I got right? Only one, two.
No, you've got three, I think, haven't you?
Oh, I don't know.
You got one. Oh no, you've got two.
I got two.
You're right.
All right, I got two so far. So to break even, this one breaks even if I get it right. I will say yes.
So you're saying yes. You're saying this is a song about sex. Do we have any other responses from the audience?
We probably
going once, going twice. Everybody seems to be quiet tonight. I imagine it's because they don't know a lot of musicals. But I can reveal that Dead Girl Walking is a song about sex.
It is.
So, with regards to the film, I haven't seen the film, but this particular song comes during the story when Veronica has just been told by Heather that she is going to be killed when she next sees her. Okay. And she goes to, I've forgotten the name of the love interest, but to his house and seduces him and basically says, if I have 48 hours to live, how am I going to spend them? I'm going to fuck this guy that I think's hot, because that is very much one of the central.
Yeah.
And this whole, listen to the song. It is brilliant. It is basically her sneaking into this guy's room and convincing him.
I've lost my mouse. I've lost control of my mouse. I can't do anything. I'm sorry. I know that's not relevant now, but it will be when I go to end. Yeah. No, I've seen this film, and I'm trying to think. That's why I think there was definitely a thing where they got it on in the film, and like, what's his name? Was it like DJ or something like that? I can't remember.
Some CJ or something.
CJ.
It was an abbreviation.
Like it's an abbreviation of of what his actual name is. So yeah.
Yeah, so this is after Veronica has refused to hurt Martha's feelings at the party. Yeah. And she gets told by Heather, if you're going to be like this, you can't be one of us. And if you're going to humiliate me like this, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah, yeah.
So she decides, fuck it, and quite literally, fuck it.
Yeah. It's a good film. I've seen it a few times. If you ever want to watch it, we can sit down and watch it one day.
I'm 100% down to watch it. I haven't actually seen the film.
I thought I'd heard about Heathers as a musical, again, we go back to like that when you said before about musicals becoming films, or films becoming musicals, at least.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'd forgotten that one was one of them. I actually knew that more than I did about the Death Becomes Her, oddly enough. Yeah. So, and again, that's another film we should. Yeah. Well, film night coming up.
We'll add
soon.
it to the list.
We're added to the
sure.
list. So I know we're talking about musicals, but we're planning our social evening. Sorry, guys. But so that's the last one, yeah?
That's the last one. That is all that we have for Is It or Isn't It? A Song About Sex.
Well, as always, I do enjoy this little game that we have. And I much appreciate it when it comes in. And I love that you've adapted it to the theme of whatever the podcast is. I think that's actually a genius on your part. Thank you very much. But that usually wraps things up then, doesn't it? With the Isn't It or Isn't It? So I don't think we have anything else to actually add. Anything we do have can be saved for another time.
Absolutely.
If that is all we've got time for on this episode, then all I can say to everybody is thanks very much if you're watching live. Appreciate that you've come in, said hi in chat. Thanks for that. And obviously, it's a podcast and it goes up over on our podcast station over on Spotify and all other places where you might find your podcast. If there's a podcast that you listen to, don't forget to add us. It is to be decided. It is under the name Mr. Steve. You can find me on pretty much everything with the Twitch ID of Funny Bits Boy as well. Alongside our other podcast, you can this is obviously our newest one we're doing now, where we're doing it with different types of media, and we will have another one for you soon. Hopefully, maybe next week. We're hoping to do another. Oh, maybe not. I don't know. See how that works out because of the timing of our.
Yeah, we might have to wait until the week after.
Yes.
Of the musical visit.
Yeah. So there might not be another one. You might have to wait a couple of weeks for the next episode. But when we do, don't forget check all the places that you normally find Funny Bits Boy on, our Mr. Steve. Go there. Like, share, subscribe, and all that stuff, because this is also going to be available on YouTube. There is a Mr. Steve and Mrs. Bingly YouTube channel, which is dedicated just to this To Be Decided version of the podcast. It's the edited version. It won't be the normal, like, this won't be the live recording. But if you want to see the live recording again, you can go to the other channel, Funny Bits Boy, on YouTube as well. And you can get the unedited version on there. It's where you normally see the cock-ups that I leave in. And I haven't edited out. And yeah, sometimes from Mr. Bingly's also heard in the background.
Yeah, so sometimes guest on Mr. Bingley.
But yeah, you might not hear it on the edited version. But anyway, thanks very much for listening. Thanks for watching, if you were watching. And we will hope to see you again real soon on the To Be Decided podcast. So from me, Mr. Steve, thank you. Goodbye. And for Mrs. Bingley, take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Bye.